The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
You're listening to the Alldus podcast, the ServiceNow series. Today we are speaking with Stuart Birnie. Stuart is the founder and the operational excellence lead for Pulsar, and if I'm not mistaken, he is also our first ever Scottish guest on the ServiceNow series. So welcome, Stuart. It's great to talk with you today.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to be here. Delighted to be the first Scottish guest.
Yeah, definitely. I know. Let's just dive straight in. So you've had a really interesting career journey and you've achieved a lot over the last 10 plus years, if not more. So could you maybe just tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got to where you are today?
I guess the headline is my career is all centred around risk resilience and transformation projects. My interest in risk actually started at university. So I did a degree at Glasgow Caledonian University in risk management, then joined PwC in their Global Risk Management Solutions department. And that was a few years ago now, 2001. I had an incredible time at PwC, 20 years I spent there. And that included 3 years in Australia. And that was working in projects ranging from, helping a financial services client with a core banking implementation, to leading operational resilience engagements, to technology, risk management and assurance engagements. When COVID hit, a few things happened. I decided it was time to change tack a little bit, and that's where my ServiceNow journey began. At the time, I was very aware, and I still am to that extent, that technology has a huge role to play in risk and resilience. And because ServiceNow is a platform that's used by loads of different clients for IT service management, project management, HR, etc. So there was a great opportunity to use the platform and its risk and resilience capability. Therefore, when the opportunity arose to join a ServiceNow implementation company, Whyaye, I just jumped at it. And I led the IRM team at Whyaye, and then following the acquisition at EY for 3 years. And then 6 months ago, my fellow co-founders, Brett and James, and I decided to form Pulsar.
And here you are today. I know
Indeed.
it's an exciting path that you've had so far, and I'm sure our listeners would be curious to know what made you take the leap after so many years of industry experience. What made you go out and just get going and starting Pulsar?
I guess it was something I always thought about, and admired individuals that had done it. But if I was honest, when I was at PwC, I was so focused on my career there that I didn't really give it a second thought. And also, again, if I'm being honest with myself, I was probably a wee bit risk adverse in doing something
Working
like that.
in risk.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess there was two moments that sort of brought me to where I am today. The first one I referred to earlier is when I decided to do something different when COVID hit and certain events happened at PwC. I'd basically realised I wasn't quite enjoying work as much as I had, wasn't spending time with the family, and the kids were growing up. So that's when I took the opportunity to join Whyaye and got involved in the ServiceNow space. As I said before, that was just an awesome time working with great people, and had real success growing the IRM practice alongside the wider growth of Whyaye. And that gave me a real, the bug, if you like, for growing a small business. Therefore, when the acquisition of Whyaye happened by EY, I guess deep down I knew that wouldn't be a long-term move for me. And as I say, Brett, James and I, my co-founders, we had a conversation probably early January this year, and then we decided to form Pulsar, which launched in May. And honestly, a roller coaster of emotions with any small business, but I've loved every single minute of it so far.
Great, yeah. It's funny, I feel like I speak to a lot of people, and COVID really did take a lot of people, giving them the time to just step back and reflect on what they were doing and what they wanted from, the next few years of their career. So it's nice that Pulsar was a result of that self-reflection. And it'd be good to maybe hear a bit more specifically about Pulsar and what it is that you guys are doing.
The headline is that Pulsar are a ServiceNow consultancy and implementation firm. We only focus on ServiceNow. We're really specific in terms of the services we offer, and that's deliberate, Ailsa, because that's how we see we will deliver value to clients by having these specialisms. So the way I describe our services are we've got two verticals we focus on, and those verticals are operational excellence and integrated risk management in particular, and then secondly, employee experience. And then we also focus on those cross-platform elements. So, your data model, CSDM, CMDB, ITOM, getting that right, how clients might be using the likes of AI across the platform, that consultancy piece around about how are you using the platform, how can you use it better, that sort of elements we focus on as well. The other bit that's really, really critical to us and to our success is ensuring we deliver high quality outcomes to our clients. And quite honestly, that'll be something we never, ever compromise on. And the way we do that is having, the best people, a diverse workforce, given the best environment to work in. And as we all know, the secret sauce to a successful project is getting that equation of people, process, and technology right. So we've built the business so that we have process SMEs like me that know the platform. Yep. So I've been working in ServiceNow for 3 years. I've done my certified specialist in IRM and TPRM, but we've also got platform experts that know the process. So they've done lots of implementation. So that combination of process people know the platform people know the process. And when you combine that with the people element, so we have people that know how to run big, scary projects and deal with all the politics that goes with that, and do the change management element, which is so important of bringing the business and people with us. That's what's made us successful in the first 6 months we've been working, and hopefully continues as we move forward.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I like the analogy as well of it being a recipe. You need multiple things to go into the one to make sure you're delivering success. So it'd be interesting to hear maybe a case study or a typical kind of challenge at the moment that you are working on or helping your customers with at the moment.
Yeah, let me pick two that are getting a little bit of traction at the moment, and we're seeing a lot on. One is the Digital Operational Resilience Act, or DORA, which everyone's probably heard of. Yep. But for those of the listeners that haven't, it's EU legislation around operational resilience, and like all op resilience regulation, the intended outcomes to identify threats, mitigate vulnerabilities, so that there are less operational incidents that impact on customers and the wider financial services ecosystem. DORA itself has a specific focus on cyber and technology risk and third parties that enable the ecosystem of financial services. Why do I say that it's been a hot topic for us and for ServiceNow? DORA has some really prescriptive requirements around about technology, cyber risk, third-party risk management, and ServiceNow, in my view, is uniquely placed to address some of these. I say that because if you look at the way the ServiceNow data model and the CSDM, CMDB is all set up, that nicely aligns with DORA. The functionality around about risk management and third-party risk management allows you to address some of the pillars in DORA. But the final bit I would say is that there are accelerators that ServiceNow are bringing out imminently that address some really specific requirements. So there's a requirement to do a third-party registers of information. There's a requirement to do specific reporting on incident management, and ServiceNow have got an accelerator that helps clients. And because that they have the platform that gives the breadth of capability, that's making ServiceNow successful. And we're getting a lot of interaction because we've got people like me that understand the platform, but have also led op resilience programs that understand the subject matter. The second area that I mentioned, and it's the buzzword of the moment, isn't it, is AI.
Yes.
And what we're really seeing at the moment, Ailsa, is that clients are really starting to dabble in this area. They'll have 4 or 5 initiatives on the go. They're really thinking about where are they at, what's their roadmap, how do they get benefits. So our team have prepared honestly, I think it's an excellent diagnostic, and I don't just say it because it's ours. I've seen a few over the years, and this one is good. That essentially is looking at where clients are now, where do they want to get to, what's the roadmap, what's the specific benefits that come at each stage. And the beauty of the diagnostic is it's not just covering technology, it's looking at people, what training do you need, what education do you need. It's looking at governance and various other factors as well. So yeah, in summary, DORA and AI are the 2 things that are keeping us quite busy at the moment.
Yeah, and they're definitely 2 topics we're hearing so much about in the market, and the countdown's definitely on at the moment for DORA and its compliance for organisations. So I'd imagine that's keeping you very busy. And for our listeners then, is there anything advice-wise that you could recommend to them, or advice that you would give them for managing risk in their organisations, or specifically when it comes to DORA?
Yeah, I think specifically for DORA, I guess, as I said, I'm in quite a fortunate position because I've led operational resilience projects before. So I get that side of the fence as well as the ServiceNow implementation side of the fence. And what I would say is I know these projects can be really daunting. The regulations are new, there's no tried and tested solution.
Sure.
Deadlines are imminent, everything has to be done yesterday. But what I would say is, take the time to understand the regulations. Consult widely. There are podcasts, there are books, there's people you can speak to, there's articles. Consult widely, engage stakeholders, and come up with that roadmap and plan that what everyone's bought into. When it comes to the technology side of that roadmap, again, make sure those requirements are implemented in a logical order and that they are delivering value regularly. And avoid scope creep. Be really, really clear on that. The thing with the likes of DORA is it's the new shiny thing, and there'll be everybody suggesting everything, but you need to be really specific and focused on your scope to make sure you're A, meeting the requirements, B, delivering value. From a ServiceNow perspective, I've done a little bit of thinking in this, written a paper on it, and happy to discuss with anybody if they reach out to me. But it's really about, firstly, getting that data model right, aligning the ServiceNow data model to what they term critical important functions within DORA, and then secondly, using the DORA accelerators to meet some of these specific requirements around about incident management and the registers of information. And then, utilizing the functionality in third-party risk management or in the risk management side to meet the pillars that come from there. The final bit I would say, and I've said this for a few years when I used to talk a lot about operational resilience as well, is that, if you're a client, think about the outcome you're trying to deliver. You're trying to protect customers. You're trying to avoid those costly disruptions to yourself, those disruptions to customers. It's not a regulatory tick box exercise. If you shift the mindset to be focused on the customer outcome and really focus on that, there's wider value and benefits that can be delivered rather than just meeting the regulatory outcome.
Yep, of course. So what I'm hearing is people need to take the time to invest in, what it means, what they need to do for themselves and protect themselves as a business, but also seeking professional help from a company, and services like Pulsar, I can imagine, would be hugely beneficial
Well,
as well.
it's very kind of you to say that, Ailsa. Yes, absolutely. I think the bit I would say, just coming back to my point about, I totally appreciate time pressures are there, and taking the time is important. And when we say taking the time, we're not saying take 6 months just to think about it and talk about it. You can do that very, 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 very quickly. Over the space of a couple of weeks or so. But yeah, no, it is important to plan properly. You've got the old analogy of the 5 Ps, which we better not expand on in a podcast. But yeah, that proper planning will help in the long term.
Great. And it's been a really great conversation, and I'm sure our listeners will be very keen to hear your insights into what you're doing at the moment and the market specifically for Pulsar. Is there any kind of other final advice that you would recommend or give to our listeners before we finish up?
Yeah, I think the final bit I would finish with, Ailsa, is just saying to listeners that are on a ServiceNow journey, as this point I've said a couple of times through the podcast, is really have a think about where you are now, where you want to go, and what the roadmap is. And in that roadmap, focus on how can we deliver value quickly through incremental drops and build us up to our outcome. I have noticed a lot on the ServiceNow world, having got involved 3 years ago, is that customers come on board, they will implement a product, and they've not really thought about where they go to from there. And therefore they get a little bit frustrated with things. But thinking about that roadmap will ensure that you deliver your first outcome and then continue to build on that and get real value from the platform, because there's huge value that can be had from the AI capability, the workflow capability, the automation capability. But that won't just happen. Organizations really need to think about that and plan it out.
Great advice. No, I really appreciate that, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. It's been really great having you on as our guest. I'm sure our listeners will be very excited to be able to hear this episode. So thanks for your time and all the best.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Jules. I really appreciate the opportunity. Really enjoyed this. And yeah, likewise, I hope the listeners get value from this.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.